Previously at the IPL.
Glenn Maxwell. Hey, what's with all these 50s? Where did they all come from? They seem fun. Another of the micro mistakes was Mark Nicholas kept mentioning the fact that Varun Chakravarti was taken out when Maxwell was still early at the crease. Oh, KKR somehow emerged triumphant from under the tyranny of Owen Morgan's reign of absolute terror. Wait, sorry, the microphone's like a million miles from my mouth. Bowl first, yes. Bowl first. Bowl first, Jarrod Kimber. What on earth were Mumbai doing in their batting power play? Punjab also played in this game. And no, I'm not talking about the fact that Ishan Kishan was promoted up the order. I can understand slight little adjustments, and you can agree with them or just... That had nothing to do with how they batted. Kind of always wanted to do that. In fact, I'm probably pretty sure I've done that before. So let's look at a few of the key storylines from the IPL as it was back in May. You know, of the ones I can remember, which is also not going to be that many because I don't have a very good memory. Let's start with the Delhi Capitals because they're 8-2 and they're doing great. They did have Rishabh Pant as captain at one stage and he did look a little bit like a lost puppy. But to be fair, he kind of worked it out pretty quickly, I thought. When people talk about good captains and bad captains, they forget that sometimes people just don't actually know what they're supposed to be doing. And I think Rishabh felt that way for a little while and then he worked it out. But hey, team's winning. Team's winning. They're also 2 wins away from booking their final spot. So, you know, it doesn't really matter what you say about them. They're going to be in the finals. Even if this league goes in a completely different way, they ain't slipping. They're going to be there and they're going to be playing cricket. That's, I believe, how the finals work. Just a phenomenal bowling attack. They kind of have everything they need. They can bring and change and diversify when needed. I know some of the players aren't coming back, but their overall bowling attack is still very good and very balanced, and not every team has that. Most teams are sort of slanted towards 1 or 2 different kinds of bowling, and Delhi's just better than that. And Prithvi Shaw was really good, wasn't he? And it allowed their middle order to start a little bit slower if they needed, because he was starting like, well, someone had lit his arse on fire, which is a very good way to start in T20 cricket, if we're being honest. Chennai, I think I had Chennai in number 1 in my power rankings, which probably went up the morning that the whole tournament went apart. I mean, maybe we should talk about that. That was that key storyline of the entire IPL, wasn't it? That somehow the IPL was going to weather one of the worst pandemics ever going on in India at that time, because, I don't know, to shame the PSL. It was very weird what some people believed at that stage. But luckily, they finally paused the tournament. And at that stage, as I said, Chennai were number 1 on my power rankings, which are more important than the points table. I don't know why. They had a very good run, Chennai, where didn't seem to have that many injuries or COVID. They had all their players available. They have this incredible all-round core. Moeen Ali, of course, has found new lease of life. You know, he found the love that he never found at RCB or at times even England when it came to Chennai, and him and Ravi Jadeja just sort of tormented teams by spinning the ball in different directions and hitting it wherever they wanted to. Ravi Jadeja, some of his fielding was just incredible. Now, obviously, as I've said many times before, some of this is down to him being left-handed, which is a huge advantage. The rest of it's down to him being just a really good fielder, which is also a huge advantage. Bangalore were shockingly good, weren't they? Almost like... It's hard to tell at the moment if they're just going to go all the way through and win the whole tournament just to make us all feel bad for all the jokes, or if they're just going to troll their fans and fall apart at the end. But I cannot wait to see what decision they make. They also became a bit like the Brooklyn Nets as well, and sorry if you don't follow basketball for that reference, but essentially they got all these big scorers and sort of clumped them together and said, have a go at this. So Glenn Maxwell, AB de Villiers and Virat Kohli. They've done that before. Maybe the big difference this time is that they got some good bowling performance as well. Harshal Patel had his absolute career season, and it's worth noting that Harshal Patel had not really had a career season at all before this. He'd not really had that many seasons before this where he'd done anything of any note at all. It felt like he was slowing down towards the end of the first half of the season, but maybe he wasn't. No one expected him to be that good anyway. The one thing I would say about Bangalore is they went 1-2 in their last 3 games. Which doesn't mean much from a form perspective, but it does show you how well they were going before they had a bit of a slide. Mumbai, I don't really know what to do with Mumbai. They're above 50%, and they're a very good chance of making the finals, being that the bottom 4 teams are fairly shambolic in many different cases, in many different ways, and spectacularly so. But the break might change things, and they're only 4-3, and some of those teams will have had time to change their lineups, get fit players back, you know, have fun with it a little bit. What does that mean for Mumbai? I kind of felt like at times they were paper tigers. You would look at their lineup and think, this is a good team. This is a solid cricket team that should be winning more games. And then you watch them play, and it was a bit of a crapshoot. I mean, at one stage they dropped Ishan Kishan, which kind of tells you that despite the fact they looked like they had it all together, they did not actually have it all together. I wondered if that was just a panic or what the situation was there. But it's not like this is the only time ever they've started a bit slow, is it? Rajasthan Royals had a bit of a shocker. They lost their star fast bowler to a fish tank. That sounds so stupid when you say it out loud. They lost their star all-rounder to a catch. Again, that sounds pretty stupid when you say it out loud. But they did come into the tournament without really any middle order, and they tried to make that up on the fly. They just looked broken. To be honest though, towards the end, the other three teams were playing so poor, it looked like Rajasthan might have been the actual team who could have moved themselves up to give themselves a chance of maybe dislodging Mumbai. But I wouldn't have put any money on it. I wouldn't have put your money on it, let alone mine. The Punjab Kings, of course, were doing okay when you look at the bottom four teams, and then KL Rahul had an appendix issue, which is just a ridiculous thing. I mean, I'm not sure how they were winning so many games as they were, because their team doesn't make any sense to me, and it has not for a very long time. It is spectacularly unbalanced. It's as combustible as, well, KL Rahul's appendix, I suppose, is the best way of putting it now. And I didn't really understand it, but they were putting something together and they were doing something, and then his appendix went. Now, I think he only has one. I really should check some of this stuff up with doctors before I come online. So I don't think that can happen to him again, is my point. I still think, along with the Royals, they got a bit of a run at the finals if they want them. Obviously, a lot of things would have to go their way, but Ravi Bishnoi has gone their way. Incredible to think they didn't actually start the tournament with him, because he looks such a, one of those good players that you hear so much about. They're probably the best of the bottom four teams, and I don't know, if Mumbai or Bangalore slip a little bit, they're a chance. KKR, oh my god, we're gonna have to talk about Owen Morgan for a while, aren't we? I thought Owen Morgan was actually going to get fired, and so I think I might have even written a piece or a video ready for that to happen. That has not happened yet. He is still around, and he's still Owen Morgan. His friend is the coach, and his other friend is running the analytics department. He's got everyone he wants there, but it's a great batting lineup, and they're not making anywhere near the amount of runs that they should be making. And it's not a very good bowling lineup, is it? You can blame him, as everyone in the comments will do, for how their bowlers are going, but I don't think it's a very good bowling lineup, and I think he's been trying his best. I think they've tried a multiple of different variations with their bowling attack, and when it comes down to it, it just didn't quite work that well. But they still have that top 8, and they might still be able to do some damage, but I can't see them making the finals. Could be fun though. Could be fun. Sunrisers went 0-3 for the last 3 games. David Warner was out. I mean, that's the story, wasn't it, really? David Warner no longer involved with the team. Everyone thought Owen Morgan was about to get the shaft, and David Warner stole his thunder. Basically, again, the team just doesn't look like it quite matches, and so they're trying to find the ideal overseas combination. They didn't have all the luck, of course, with injuries as well along that time. They're not that removed from being a very, very good team, but in the part of the season that we saw, they did not look like a good team at all. A lot would have to go right for them to come back from here. Obviously, there was a lot of nonsense when it comes to the IPL, because it is the IPL. But there was a lot of fun in the first half of the season as well, even if it did stop because an Australian journalist tweeted that the players were upset and there was an outbreak within the camp, which is odd as it is, but you always when you watch those American shows and they go previously on The Wire, don't they? They always leave the dramatic thing at the end. So here's a dramatic thing about Peter Lawler sending a tweet that stopped a multi-billion-dollar tournament. Bum bum. That's not The Wire, is it? That's Law and Order. IPL and Order. No, I can't pull that off.